Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center. And today we've got a bunch of new stuff from ESEE Knives, one of the premier American companies doing hard-use survival knives. And we've got a complete refresh of their lineup using new contoured handles as well as another brand new model. Let's check them out. All right, let's start with the new model first. Now you may remember ESEE's Xancudo frame lock folder. This is a very affordable knife with D2 steel. One of our favorite budget knives, hovers right around the $30 mark. Well, they have just now introduced a fixed blade version of this knife, also called the Xancudo, but with an X instead of the Z, just for some legal reasons behind that. But as you can see right here, the fixed blade follows kind of the same lines. It's just a little bit bigger than the original folder. Now the handles on this fixed blade Xancudo are orange and black G10, as you can tell, and they're contoured, which actually echoes kind of what we see across the rest of their core lineup, which we'll get to shortly. But the other big news with this knife is the steel. Now, of course, ESEE is well known for their use of 1095 carbon steel, but people have been asking for a high-performance stainless for a long time, and now they're making that happen with S35VN. Now the rest of their lineup is still heavily centered around 1095, but they're also going to make S35VN available on the SE3 at some point in the near future. Now as far as how this knife feels in the hand, you can see it kind of swells out towards the back with a little bit of a taper towards the end, and it really nestles nicely into the palm of your hand. Even though it's a smaller knife, it does a good job of providing a very firm and filling grip. Blade is a drop point with a full flat grind with that very high performance steel. And what I really like about this is that they went with a stone washed finish. One of my favorite finishes for a working knife because it looks good now, and as you use it, scratches are kind of going to blend into that pattern, so it's going to look good down the line as well. On top of that, the way it actually behaves, it actually does something to the steel as well. It kind of behaves similarly to a mirror finish in a way, but it's sort of a random scratch pattern mirror, and it actually polishes the surface of the steel, further increasing its corrosion resistance on this already stainless steel, but that's just another added little bonus. Now the sheath on this knife is plastic, clicks into place quite nicely, and the design is very similar to the sheaths that come with the ESEE fixed blade as well. As you can see, it's got a similar hole pattern, and it comes with a clip plate in the box, which you screw into here, and it has a clip that will fit to your belt, but this hole pattern should be Tech-Lock compatible as well. Now there's actually two different versions of this knife. We've got another version, as you can see, with a big hole in the handle. Now, I do think this is going to be a little bit controversial out there. They do it for two reasons. One, it removes a little bit of weight, but as I was talking to the reps from the company, they said the biggest reason for that hole is that you can fit a carabiner through there. Now, I would always recommend carrying the knife either on your belt or around your neck if you're wearing it as a neck knife. I don't typically like to put a carabiner through the handle because then you actually have to remove it when you want to use the knife. But there are a few situations where this could come in handy. And one of the things the reps were telling us, one of the target uses for this knife with the hole is for climbers, because they can clip it onto there and it can be secured to their person with all the rest of their strapping and webbing and so forth. And if it did happen to get pulled, if you had the carabiner on the sheath and the knife got pulled, the knife is gone. But with the carabiner clipped to the handle, you might lose the sheath, but the knife is going to be there when you need it. All in all, it's a really cool design. I really like the transformation to the fixed blade version here with the Xancudo, and these are about 130 bucks right now, made in the USA. All right, now we're going to get into probably the even bigger news for 2020. Their entire core lineup, the 3, 4, 5, and 6 models, have been revamped to now be available with contoured handles. ESEEs have always been a very popular choice for survivalists, hunters, bushcrafters, campers, you name it. Certainly a fantastic survival knife, but some people out there don't really like how flat the scales are. They certainly carry very easily, and especially on this Model 3 right here, but you're going to be able to carry it very nice and flat on your body because it doesn't take up too much width, and if you needed to conceal your knife, it's going to be easier to do that as well. But at least as far as I'm concerned, I've always found them to feel just a little bit thin when I'm doing some of the heavier work that you need to do outdoors, such as carving wood. And that's why I'm really excited for these new models right here. You can see right here, the profile is nearly identical. They've just gone from this flat to this nice swell on the handle here. It's kind of similar to the Xancudo in that we have a swell out near the middle, but we have a more abrupt taper towards the back of the blade. Again, I wouldn't say this is a design that locks into your hand, but it really nestles into the pocket of your palm very nicely indeed. I've got a few different colors of the 3 here in front of me, and most of these colors are going to be available across the range of all of these core models. I've got the green blade version here with an OD green and black G10, as well as an orange and black G10 with a orange blade coating. Of course, we have that coating here because this is 1095 carbon steel, which can rust if you don't take care of it, but that coating is going to protect the metal that's right underneath there. You just have to worry about the edge and the logo itself. It's still high performance though. You can see on the back here, this name Rowan right here. Rowan is actually the company that builds these for ESEE, and they're widely regarded as having some of the best 1095 in the business in terms of the way they heat treat it and the amount of performance they're able to get out of it. Now, all of these knife models, their number sort of corresponds to their blade length. The 3 has about just under 3.5 inches of usable edge. And you've also got their signature finger choil here right at the front, so if you wanted to choke up on that blade just a little bit, you could do that very easily. Now this particular model right here starts with 3/32 of an inch thick steel or thereabouts with a full flat grind. In terms of the core fixed blades, this is definitely the sliciest of the bunch. Makes a great small companion knife, and especially in this orange right here, I think makes a great hunting knife as well. Now, as far as the sheaths that are included with these knives, they're the same as the other flat-handled versions. They've done them in a way that they don't need to change that at all. So if you've got an older sheath, especially if you've kind of kitted it out, you've got a bit of a rig or a survival kit strapped to it, it will pop right into those, no problem. If you had some custom Kydex made though, it may not fit. You know, obviously since Kydex is made in sort of a one-off sort of fashion, it may be a little bit different here, but they might work. They just can't guarantee that, obviously. But in terms of the way that the same sheaths work with these knives, it kind of tells the whole story with these. These are the same great knives that have proven themselves time and again in the field, just now with more comfortable handles. It's still that great heat-treated steel. It's still ESEE, made in the USA, with a no questions asked lifetime warranty. You got nothing to worry about with these knives. And even the price is about the same too. Most of these aren't that much more expensive than the original flat version, sometimes within 10 bucks of those, which is a really good deal if you ask me. Moving on to the ESEE 4, here we have the original with the micarta scales showing you the flat nature of those. Right here next to the contoured model right now. The 4 has about 4 inches of usable edge, and the handle is pretty much identical to the 3, as you can see right there. Still has the same great feel in the hand. On this model, the steel is about 5/32 of an inch thick, still with a full flat grind, so it still slices pretty well, but it's got a little bit more beef, a little bit more robust type of construction than the 3. This model is the black blade with the blue and black G10, but they also offer a stainless version of the 4. It's not S35 VN in this case, it is 440C, so it's not going to hold an edge quite as long, but it is going to be easier to maintain, and it still offers a good value and a good amount of performance in the field. Still has that nice stone-washed finish as well, so it's going to be nice and rugged, and the handles on this one are gray and black G10. Just a little note about the texture on these handles. You can see that there's a little bit, you can kind of see the milling marks here, but they are very subtle. They do a little bit to add some traction, but when you're bearing down on these, you're not going to get any hot spots from them, or at least I don't when I'm squeezing these handles. All I feel is that really nice swell, that really good construction. All right, now we're going to come to the ESEE 5, the bruiser of the lineup, and it's 1/4 inch thick 1095 steel. This knife has always been a tank, and if you need an apocalypse blade, this is definitely the one to get. Now, most of these handles I've shown you so far are made with G10 and have some nice brighter colors. They haven't forgotten their core look with the ESEE knives, which this knife right here kind of encapsulates. Either a black or a darker coated blade with sort of the tan micarta handles or natural micarta, while they do still make that same configuration, as you can see right here with the new contoured version of the 5, shown here with micarta handles and the green coated blade. Now, what you gain in comfort with these handles, you do lose the bow drill divot here. I think it's a worthy trade-off personally because I love how this knife feels. I think the 5 and the 6 especially, more so even than the previous knives, really benefit from these new contoured handles. In similar fashion, you can see we've got a prominent palm swell, but we've also got a flare out towards the back as well, which is really going to be useful because, especially on this knife, you are going to want to choke back every now and then and use it as sort of an impromptu chopper, and that gives you a little bit more security than the taper towards the back as the other knives have. But especially here with this shape and with this canvas micarta, this is one where I feel confident saying this is a design that does lock into your hand. It feels very, very secure. Blade, as I said, 1/4 inch thick. This is sort of what kind of a poster child for that sharpened pry bar style of survival knife, and it's a good one. The grind is still flat, but it's sort of a saber height flat grind, not a full flat grind. So you get a lot more strength and rigidity and a bit more chopping power as well. And then on the back, just like any good quote unquote survival knife, we have an apex here on the protruding tang that actually comes to a point. It's not super sharp, it's not gonna catch you, but it is gonna bring all your force together onto one point if you do need to use this for striking. And we've got a large lanyard loop or a large lanyard hole there at the back as well. Something of the complete opposite spectrum stylistically is this other version of the 5. They've done these versions of their knives before with this venom green handle, but we've also got this paired with neon green and black G10 for a very striking look. And even more so than the orange, it's definitely a high vis look. So if you set this down when you're out and about, not that I would recommend it, but if you do, you stand a fairly good chance of being able to locate this, as long as it didn't get buried in debris or leaf litter or that sort of thing. Finally, we come to what's long been my favorite knife of the ESEE lineup, the ESEE 6, which, you guessed it, just about 6 inches of usable edge. And actually for the 3D contoured versions, I've pulled 2 of the more subtle looking ones overall. Right here with natural micarta, it has this nice brown look that goes along with that black coated blade for a bit of a more classic look than some of these other knives. Steel 3/16 of an inch thick with a full flat grind. I think on a knife this size is just about the perfect compromise between cutting ability and strength needed for batoning, even a little bit of light chopping, although the 5 is going to probably be a little more of a capable cutter in that regard. But even so, the handle construction is very similar. We've got that nice swell and a flare towards the back. And that's because, just like the original versions, the handle shape or the handle profile is the same between the 5 and the 6. So really, even though there's 4 knives here with a bunch of different variants, they only had to do the tooling for 2 different handle shapes to achieve this across their range. And to round things out, we've got one more color variant of the 6 to show you with the black G10 and a brown coated blade. Again, I think this has a pretty striking look without looking too garish. If you're worried about that, like the venom green or the orange, this is another really good color option. Again, most of these colors are available on each one of these different knife models. So if you don't see the particular combination you like here, make sure to check out our website to see all the colors available. So that about wraps it up here. In terms of my impressions, I really love all of them with these contoured handles. The 5 and 6 especially, I think, go right past, in my opinion, go right past the flat ones and grab the contoured ones because they fill the hand so nicely, feel really good. The 3 and the 4, it kind of depends on what you want to use it for. If you're going for concealability and everyday carry, the flat scales might still be your thing. If you're heading out into the woods, the contoured ones might feel your hand better. And we've got that new Xancudo, a great new neck knife or small belt knife to kind of pair with some of your larger knives. But the prices on these are affordable. Most of them start a bit over $100, but the contoured versions are not that much more expensive than the flat-handled versions, and they come with that no questions asked forever warranty. If you break it, pretty much, I've never heard of them ever turning down a warranty claim. If you break it, they're gonna replace it for you and make sure you're taken care of. That's all I've got to show you today. If you want to get your hands on any of these knives, we'll leave links in the description to head over to KnifeCenter.com. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center, signing off. See you next time.
Do your thing.
Premier makers of American made. Yeah, I mean, it's a rambly one. Now the sheath on this knife is a plastic thing. That sounded sarcastic. See, now you got in my head now. Still rolling.
Yeah.